Hey guys, thank you for subscribing. This is your free tutorial. Hey guys, so I'm going to show you how I got this image from start to finish. So here is a finished image, and here's another image that's similar to it from the same shoot. I shoot with a Nikon D810. I switched over from Canon to Nikon. So we'll show you the raw images and how I got everything. So we shot around 6:30, 6 o'clock. Sunset was set around 8 o'clock. So I used this app. If you have Apple, you should use it. Let me look at what the app is called. It is called Sunseeker. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. I think I paid $5 for it, but it is a great app. It lets you know exactly what time the sun sets and where the sun sets. So I recommend definitely getting that if you are a photographer, and it just saves a lot of time, you know. So when you're at the location a day before, you get to know exactly where the sun's going to be at tomorrow. You can actually set the day for the next day. It's a great app, man. I highly recommend it. Alright, so back to this image. So this is a raw image. So let me show you the raw and the edit. Where'd you go? Okay, so this is, and I mean honestly, it's not much of a difference, which is pretty crazy. So this is the final product, final image. Actually, I should bring this into Lightroom. And this is the before. So this is straight out of camera, pretty much. Well, I mean, that is straight out of camera. Let me see if I can import this into Lightroom. Okay. So yeah, so pretty much this is the before, and this is the after. Before, after. So I didn't get rid of these people over here in this corner, because I mean, I just had fun with the shoot. It wasn't nothing serious. It wasn't for a magazine. It wasn't editorial. We just decided to go out and shoot. I have had my camera for about 2 months, man, and I'm super excited about the information I'm recovering from this. Before this, I shot with the Canon 5D Mark II. I mean, I was the type of person where if it shoots great images, I'm fine with it, you know. Who needs a new camera? But man, was I wrong. This camera's dynamic range is amazing, which I am about to show you guys after I tell you how I got this image. So first off, let me show you what I lit this with. Okay, so the sun was behind us. This location is at Caesar's Palace. We were not allowed to shoot there. I shot this with a 28-2.8. Alright guys, I'm going to show you guys how I got this image. So it was around 6:37. This was shot at Caesar's Palace. The sun was set behind us, so Caesar's Palace building was blocking the sun, which left us a nice soft light covering the whole area. So what I wanted to do was fill in her a little bit. The way I like to light my lighting is to make it look like there's no lighting. And as you can see in this image, it does not look like she was lit at all, really. When you think about it, it looks like it was just soft light over her. But in reality, we did light her. Let this load a bit. So she was lit. What I use for the lighting modifier, believe it or not, is super cheap. I will leave the links in the description below. So I use this. I've had this for a couple years, man, and it has not let me down. I mean, it shuts off from time to time, but for an $80 light, it is amazing, man. If you go to my website and check out all my work, you will be amazed that 90% of my shoots have been shot with this light. And I only have one, so I mean, I do have monolights like A and B's and stuff like that, but I use this most of the time. I will leave a link in the description below on how to get it. And for what I use as a lighting modifier, believe it or not, is this baby. And again, I'm gonna say this again, believe it or not, I use this for 90 to 95% of my shoots. I love this thing. I put the Yungnuo and this together and I create wonderful images. And this thing is $30. $30. So this and that, you're spending about what, $105, $110? I mean, that is a great deal. I will leave a link for this in the description below also if you want to purchase it. And these are the only two things I used for this image. Alright, so let's check this out. So I shot this at f2.8 at 1/25th of a second, 28 millimeters. 1/25th. The Yungnuo's flash sync is 1/250th, but I did want to leave some what do you call that? Did want to leave some light in the background because 250th was a little too dark. And I mean, either way, I could have brought it up with the dynamic range in the Nikon, but you know, it's best to get everything in camera. So I shot this at 1/25th. I do use a light meter, and I don't have it on me right now, so I can't tell you which one it is. It's one of those touchscreen ones. I spent about $350 on it. I love using a light meter. I was a person at first that kind of hated using light meters. I just didn't think it was necessary, but I was completely wrong because I love using it instead of stressing out and making sure, you know, oh, is the light too harsh or light too small, or, you know, I use that light meter to make sure it's barely noticeable. So again, I shot this at 2.8. I made sure that the flash from the Umbrella and the Yungnuo were going about f2 to f1.8. So I wanted it to be barely dim. Sometimes I'll shoot the light at f2.8 and I'm shooting at f2.8. And if it's too noticeable, I'll bring it down, which most of the time I always bring it down. So this was, my light was hitting her at f2. So again, it's about a quarter stop down from my camera. And that's how I get this image. So of course, I first shoot the image, make sure the background looks nice. And 1/25th was around my range at 2.8 because I wanted her to be at 2.8. And then after that, I set up the Umbrella, and I used my light meter to check where it's at, and it was at f2. Took a shot, and I was happy with it. Let me show you the befores. So this is how I did it. While she's, you know, getting her hair and makeup done, I make sure to check and see what my shots look like, and I was pretty happy with it. There's another shot, checking how the light came out. A little zoomed in. Another test shot, and here you can see the Umbrella to your left. And I was happy with it. And I knew once I took that shot that it was going to come out somewhat similar to this. And again, guys, this is in camera. Amazing. I might have done some raw. No, it's straight in camera, man. It's crazy. So here's another one. I think that one, my shutter speed was a little too high. Actually. So now you know how I got this shot. Let's take it into Photoshop. So my Lightroom settings. Oh, for color balance, I normally use a gray card. I think I did use it on her here. Let me see if I can find it. Or I think I just shot it myself. Let me check actually, because I'm pretty sure I did. I think I didn't use it this time because I was happy with what the Nikon was giving me, shooting with the cloud setting on. I think I was using shade. No, I used cloud. Yeah, I used the cloud setting, and I was super happy with the colors that it came out in camera. As you can see, they're just beautiful, super beautiful how they came out. All Alright, so let's take this into the develop. Actually, so normally the way I work, I really don't do anything with RAW unless the vignetting is a little bit off, which here it is, so I correct it. Most of the time I like to do it manual, but I feel like I did a pretty good job. So now what I do is bring this into Photoshop, Command E for Mac users. Okay, so now let me show you guys what I got. So I'm not sure how comfortable you guys are with Photoshop, but if you guys don't have a Wacom tablet, I highly recommend you guys getting one. The size does not really matter. I mean, I have the medium one, which is this one right here. The buttons and size, honestly, didn't really matter. I thought it was going to once I bought a bigger one. And for me, I felt like the small one was fine, but I guess the professional one looks, you know, more professional, I guess. But I rarely use the buttons, to be honest with you. I like using the keyboard. Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't really matter. I wish I got a one between the small and medium, but yeah. So if you don't use if you don't have a Wacom tablet now, I highly recommend you getting one. It makes your workflow so much better, and I mean, everything about it is just easier. It makes editing better. Clicking does not work as well as you think it would. Alright, so also I will leave a link for the descriptions if you want to check them out. Click on the screen or click down on the description below for the Wacom tablets to check them out. Maybe purchase one. I recommend getting one. Alright, so here it is. This is how the image came out of camera. But I guess this is where the dynamic range comes in. Canons normally have contrast on the images. I noticed that the Nikons look a little bit flat, but I think that's where the dynamic range comes in. I could be wrong. I don't know how that works. But I mean, look at the shadows. Everything about this image looks great. The only thing I think it needs is a punch of contrast, so I normally like to add that now. And adding that, look how amazing that. So what I did here was, of course, clean up a little bit. Clean up this image a bit with the healing brush. Sorry, I keep forgetting what these names are. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit with the healing brush right there. You use Option or Alt to select out that. Clean it up a little bit. So first I'm going to get rid of this, but I'll handle a little bit of these things first. Continue using the healing brush. Again, I'm not going to work on it so crazy, but you guys get the point. Alright. So for this patch, I can just select something over here. See if that works. So I think I left it, to be honest with you, on the other one, but let's go Stomp Tool. And that is S for Stomp Tool. I am going to just exactly mimic Stomp Tool. Instead of the clone tool, that makes an estimate of what you're trying to clone. The Stomp tool gives you, or the Stamp tool, Stomp or Stamp? Stamp, okay. The clone Stamp tool, yeah, it gives you exactly what you're selecting. So if I select over here, it's going to be exactly what you chose the other time. And that again is S for Stomp tool. Stamp, I don't know, I'm just going to call this Stomp. And make sure not to select the same area, because then you get this what do I call it, repetitive image. See, like what I'm doing with this grass, it looks obviously like shit. There's no detail over there, so I'm just jacking it. Okay, that's not that bad. Alright, so before and after so far, it's not too bad. Again, I'm using the stamp tool. Command Option Z to go back. Is there anything you didn't like? Alright, so I'm not going. That's pretty good. Just gonna leave that at that. I'll correct some of it later with dodging and burning. Okay, let's correct this thing. This is where she walked through, but I think that was right there beforehand. I was trying to help her over it, and she just wanted to do it herself, and she walked right through this. Eventually, later, we got caught by security. They kicked us out of there, but they didn't really kick us out of the location. When security came by, at first they just rode past us on their security bikes, and at the same time I was saying, I was just like, oh, smile, this is your wedding, you know, get ready for your wedding. You know, she was in a dress. So security was like, oh, they're just shooting for the wedding, you know, and drove past us. I always use that. It seems to work most of the time. I was just like, oh, we're shooting for a wedding. She's getting married here at the Caesar's Palace. And it hasn't failed me yet. So even with males, I've done it with males before too. And then they came back because she was in this area and we weren't supposed to be in it. So we got about 30-40 shots. But luckily these were like one of the beginning shots, so I was super happy with it. And then they kicked us out and they just told us that we can't be in this area because it's blocked out. Okay, so again, I use the stamp tool for this. Make sure to always make a new layer. You can click on this little paper here, and it makes a new layer for you, a blank layer. Okay, so the way I hid this, I'll show you right now. I go back to the background layer, hit L for lasso, and this gives you a selection. Feathering doesn't matter as long as you select outside of this. I'm going to select this outside one right here, this bush. Alright, so once you have your selection, you hit Command J, and it literally copies that selection you made into a new layer. So drag that, or no, just keep that down there actually, because yeah, that. Actually, let's just delete this curve layer for now. So now what we can do is drag this right about here. It may look a little weird for now, but we'll fix that later. So Command T is a transform tool. So Command T that layer and hold Shift and grab this corner and just extend it a little bit. Don't do too much because you lose a pixel. So hide it right behind there. So now you have this bush. It might not look good yet. Hit this little mask tool right here, and what this mask does, it pretty much gives you a white, how do we call this, layer, like a mask. So if you paint it in with black, you erase it. So it erases everything, but you're not deleting it. So that's a good thing. If you want to bring it back, you use the white brush. So you'll black and white. So black erases it, white brings it back. So it's better than erasing because you're not deleting pixels. You're actually just hiding it from the layer. Alright, so now we grab a soft brush. And what we do here is literally just hide it. So I'm doing a rough sketch right now because I gotta see where this tree ends right here. Okay, so we have the bush and we have these two. Okay, so what I'm going to do is paint this back in from here. Literally rough. And again, using the Wacom tablet, it's amazing because you can use your bracket keys and just paint in at the same time. And you get this workflow real easy. So I gotta figure out why that's showing still. 1 second, guys, it's freezing on me. Why is that color there still? It's kind of weird to me. Super weird to me right now. 1 second, guys. It's like it didn't copy that brush. Alright, so continue painting on. What is going on here? So what I'm doing is erasing a little bit of this because I think I painted over the layer instead of the brush. So I go back to the mask and again paint white, the black in here, hide it in the back. Okay, so let me just see where that's at again. Paint it back in with the white key. And of course, if you spend more time on it, you can correct it better. But I mean, so now what I would do for this, since the color looks off a bit, I would go to this curve right here, click on that, click on this arrow with the square, and what that does, it's only doing adjustments to this layer. So I'm just going to bring it down a tad bit so it's not over brighter than what, you know, surrounding around it is. You know what I mean. Okay, so I don't know why, to be honest with you, why this is still showing the background of that when I literally selected it. So I'm just going to use that stomp tool over here and literally just hide that because I don't like it. It's bugging me real bad. I mean, this is a bush, so you don't have to get that crazy with it because you can't tell. Even if I did try to correct shit. Okay, so now that is done. I just wanted to hide that. Okay, so make sure to label your things. I'm pretty bad with that too. Label that bush. Negative half stop. Bush corrections. And what that does, it makes overall corrections. And what that does, it pretty much just makes sure that you know exactly what everything is, so you don't have to keep turning off the eye to make sure what you're looking at and what everything is wrong. All right, so now I got that. Where was that? Okay, colors. Let me put this in a folder. So I'm gonna shift click and hold shift and click the folder. And what that does, it puts everything in one folder that you did all the corrections on. So we'll label that corrections. So now let's get to these colors. So after you started doing photography for a couple years, you start noticing things a lot more than you did before when you first started. So I noticed that these colors are a little bit cyan and blue. Like the sidewalks aren't supposed to be cyan, but it's just the way the shade and the camera sets it. So normally what I do is I'll hit this button on hue and saturation, which hue and saturation is right here on adjustments. So I click on the hand and the arrow and click on this tree, and what you see is it says cyan. So you click and drag that back, desaturate the whole thing. So now what that does is it brings the colors back to what normally they were, and that's a huge difference, as you can see. But what it does also is it gets rid of what is normally cyan. So as you can see, these flowers, well, actually they're supposed to be white, but we'll keep them cyan. So what you do here is you have that white mask, is what we discussed earlier. Also the street. Let me show you the street real quick. It's a bit cyan. It bugs me. Just make sure to keep the doors. The doors were cyan, I guess, supposedly. So what I'm gonna do is mask out. Pretty much keep everything, but bring back the flowers and save the trees. Well, the trees will stay. So okay, we have the white mask, so what do? We paint it with black. So the black will go on the white flowers. Just make sure to keep, is this going to be, yes, this should be blue too. We'll correct this in a bit so the concrete stays and the tree stays. So make sure to just paint this in with black again too. This was cyan to begin with. Now we check the before and after. It's very not noticeable. It's not that noticeable for, it might not be that noticeable for you guys, but it makes a huge difference once you start noticing the colors. So now what I like to do is check, make sure that she didn't have anything cyan on her that would make her not look normal. Okay, so now we're good on that. So now these flowers, let me test this out real quick. So these are blue and cyan. So let me bring the lightness up. Okay, let me see. I'm just testing this out, guys, so bear with me. So they're supposed to be white, so I'm gonna open another curves layer and bring the brightness up about half a stop. Full stop. So now let's put this in a group like I showed you before. Command click and then shift in a folder. So now when I have those two adjustments in a folder, the curve and the hue and saturation. So now I'm gonna hold option and click. Yes, option and click. And what that does, it makes that mask I showed you guys about earlier into a black. So how do we recover it? With a white brush. So now what I'm going to do is brush this back in with a white brush. And what I'm doing, it brings back the color of white, which was supposed to be, back to these flowers. And of course you can spend more time on it. I'm just showing you a rough sketch. And huge difference. And look at the colors, man. Brings back the colors and how they were supposed to be, because these flowers are not cyan, they were white. So look at the before and after. Beautiful. And that's exactly how the colors are supposed to be. And I'm just a huge fan of making sure the colors are what they are. Alright, so now let's do, okay. We're going to liquefy her body a little bit. So what I did was create a merge layer. You hold Command, Option, Shift, E. And what that does is merge everything you created into one layer. And let's show you the before and after right now. So I'm shutting all these off and I'm going to unclick it and click back. Unclick it, click back. So we're already getting a good image. I don't know what this is or how I got there, or why I even mess with that. So what I'm going to do is get rid of that on this layer. I don't know why it's doing that. It's pretty strange. I will tell you in a second. So it's in the corrections. Okay, so let me get rid of this real quick, because you can see I mess with this bush area and I don't know why, so I'm just going to erase it. I know I taught you guys not to use the eraser, but for this instance it's okay because I don't even want it there. So Command Option Shift E, create a new layer again without those bush corrections, and then you go to Filter, Liquefy. So here I'm just going to make these minor corrections with this little finger tool. I'm going to push that in a bit. What I'm doing here is just correcting the part, because she does wear, or sorry, she is wearing a some sort of underwear or garment, so it kind of tucks that, pushes the body a little bit. So I'm just going to correct that a bit so it doesn't look like it's showing. And everything else looks pretty good. Maybe just tuck this in a bit. Really not necessary, but why not? Okay, so now everything's good here. Okay, so let me show you before and after. So you just had to fix that area right there where the panties and stuff or undergarment kind of tucks that in. So I'm just correcting that. Alright, so now, I mean, the image is pretty good. We don't really need much. What I want to do is dodge and burn a little bit. Oh man, I haven't even done this. So what I have is an action right here, which gives you a 50% gray layer. And I'm going to show you guys how to do it, which I haven't done in years because I have an action for it. But I think you go to New, Fill Layer, Solid Color. And I'm wrong. New Layer. Yeah. Okay, so I think I go to Soft Light and fill with 50% gray. And so what that's doing is pretty much giving you a blank layer, but with the 50% opacity. So you allow, because you can do it on a blank layer. But what this does, it gives you, you can see exactly what you're painting in. With the blank layer, it's even harder to check. Alright, so now you have your dodge and burn layer, 50% gray. So now what I do here is, sorry. So what I'm a fan of is, there's 3 ways you can dodge and burn. One is with the dodge and burn tool. So you got dodge and burn. With your exposure real low, I'm kind of a fan of it. You can dodge with just painting, and then you hold option and you burn. So let me show you an example. So dodge, just pressing down, and then if you hold option, it burns. So what that's doing is it's pretty much painting in, it's either brightening or darkening the 50% gray layer. Okay, so let me show you an example. So this is dodging, burning by holding option. And the other way of doing it is with a curve layer. You can bring up the curve and you're getting the same thing, but what you do is hold Command I, and now you can paint in your highlights with a white brush. And you're getting the same concept, of course, but you can bring the opacity down and slowly paint in to build up. And of course the same thing, curves and darken. But of course I'll leave that for another tutorial in the future. So let me get rid of this with the 50% gray. And what you're doing here is pretty much just erasing it with a 50% gray paint. Alright, so again, I'll leave that for another tutorial, guys, in the future. Also, if there's anything you guys want to know or learn about, just shoot me an email. I have the description below, and I really want to teach you guys. If there's anything you guys want to know, just let me know, and I'll try to make a blog or vlog for it. I really want to help you guys. I love learning. I love teaching you guys also. So I'm here to help. I really want to get into this vlogging thing. I've been wanting to do it for years. I'm super picky. So it took me a couple years to do it, but now I just don't care, so I'm just doing it anyways. Alright, so what I like to do with dodging and burning is the brush tool. Literally just painting in with white or black. So you get the brush tool and you have your black and white, and the way I like to work is flow 100% and opacity about 3. So now I get the black brush, paint in the dark areas of it. Make sure not to overdo it, guys. And I'm over here painting with the white brush. Okay, so black brush. So a tip about dodging and burning, make sure to always hit the eye to make sure you're checking. See? Now you can notice it. But while you're painting, sometimes it's super hard not to. It's super hard sometimes because you can't see what you're doing. But after you've been doing it for a couple years, you start to realize, or you start to see it, so you don't overdo it. So here what I'm doing is literally just painting in the highlights and darkening the shadows. You'll see my final once I get this done. And that is all I'm literally doing, just painting in. Let's make this a little bit more. Painting in the highlights and painting, brightening up the, painting the highlights and darkening the shadows. I'll show you before and after. That's not much, but you can obviously tell, like another person's gonna see it, and you know, it's a huge shock factor for people sometimes. Definitely like people that do hair and makeup, they love it. So since that detail section, I'm not gonna do the eyes because they don't look that bad. I am going to brighten it up a tad bit. Don't overdo it. Never overdo the eyes, guys, unless you know what you're doing. Which I have seen people do amazing jobs on eyes. Like I said, I'm not a pro. Don't consider myself a pro, but I do love photography and I love what I do. Alright, so now I'm going to dodge or burn a bit with the black paint. In here I'm just popping out her skin, doing the shadows, and I'll show you what that does in a sec. So I'm painting in black, and then with the white I'm just going to do one stroke over, that's it. I'm not going to overdo it. And again, I'm at 8%, so I'm kind of overdoing it already. But for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just going to do it and go with it. Okay, so now with the face, let me show you guys what I do. Let me brighten up this dress also. So I'm going to paint it white on the dress. So again, I'm dodging the dress a bit, and then I'm going to add shadows with the black onto the side just to show the curvature. So now what you see here, before, after, before, after. So now with the face, guys, I'm gonna set it to black and white. Bring the reds down a tad bit, and so what you see here, it makes the shadows and everything a lot more noticeable. Again, I will show you guys this in a future tutorial. I'm just going to correct a little bit of these things to make her face a little smoother. Again, my opacity is down to about 3%, which might be a little too high still, but ask me any questions you guys like and I will try to vlog it or blog it, and if I can't, man, I'll just personally email you myself and tell you how to get whatever shot or whatever help you need, just for subscribing. Alright, so let me show you. Turn off the black and white, before or after. So what I'm doing is just bringing in a little detail. I'm probably going to get rid of a little bit. So I'm going to bring in a 50% gray color. The opacity is still at 3%. I'm bringing this detail a little bit more. I feel like I got rid of it too much. But I just don't like all that. Makeup artists might kill me, but it's just my touch. It's a little too harsh. So now what I'm doing is bringing it back slightly. So now you check it before and after. Bring it back a little bit more. It's a lot better. Okay. Okay, so now click this to get back to black and white. I'm gonna go back to the white brush and paint in a little bit of her lips. I mean, people aren't really gonna see this close, so it's not much of a, you know, people are like, oh my god, her lips are so beautiful. But that's just how I am. Alright, so normally I would go in and heal her face if she had any pimples and stuff, but I mean, the shot so far, I don't really care about that. It's not my concern. Alright, so now I'm going to put the finishing touches. Curve tool, bring up the highlights, do a nice little S so you're satisfied. So I'm kind of happy with that. Looks great. So now to get that finishing look, let me show you. So what I have here is a little bit of the blues in the shadows. If you can see, it kind of creeps in a little bit. It kind of shows like a little definition into it. Kind of fades away, kind of gives it like a depth of field look. Of course, I don't use a blur tool or none of that. So now, what just happened? Okay. So that's about right. So now what I do here is open another curve layer, go to the blues. So now what I try to do is keep the S shape as much as, keep that straight line as possible. Try not to add any other colors. And make another one down here and bring up the blue detail as much as I can to where it's not darkening. I think we can add a little bit more darkness into this. I wish I might be a little too much. So what I'm doing is dragging the shadows in a little bit closer. And that's good to me. So what I'm going to do is paint in her so she's not so blue, but I won't paint her in all the way, just about 50% one cleanup. Black brush, 50%, white layer, and just go over her once. So what that's doing is giving her a little bit of so she's not so blue either. And what I like to do is finish it up with a sharpen. Command Shift E again, Command Option Shift E. And what that does is give you a new layer with all the layers merged. Let me show you guys a before and after. I'm going to shift click folder, put these in the folder and close them. Turn out their click the eyes to hide them. And now I'm going to click on this one to show you the before and after. So before, after, before, after. Now looking at the before and after, I might think the blues might be a little too harsh. I kind of like it actually, but I might turn the blues down a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go back to this one, double click on it, go back to the blue, and bring it down a tad bit. Okay, so now I'm good with that. I feel that's better. Command Option Shift E, open the layer. So my sharpening techniques are a little lazy. I normally just go to overlay and use the high pass technique, filter option, high pass. And normally my pixels are 2. Super lazy with my sharpening, but there are a lot of other better ways that I'll show you. But it does a pretty good job. I'll show you some other techniques, but it does a good job. I don't know if you can notice it. No sharpening. I'll show you other sharpening techniques in the future. But yeah, man, this is pretty much it. I'm super happy with it. Shift F. Let me show you before and after. Actually, hold on. Command Option Shift E, the layer. It's merging all the layers again. So let me show you the before and after. Before and then after. Alright guys, well that's it. If you have any more questions, if I miss anything else, please let me know. Shoot me an email or leave a comment below on YouTube. I will try to answer every question if I can. Thank you again for subscribing. Hope you liked my free tutorial. Again, if I missed anything, let me know. And I will try to upload it as much as possible. This is my first work. I will be posting a tutorial soon. We'll figure that out. But again, thanks guys. This is Antonio Abrego, and this is R3MEDIES channel. I'm out.